Welcome to the Gaming Outsider Podcast. This week, Zach, Jacob, and I welcome Ron Kerbs, the CEO of a company that enhances cybersecurity for kids. And we're going to ask him some questions about keeping children safe online. In news, EA announced that Anthem is officially shutting down early next year. As for new games, we played The Alters on Xbox, as well as Super Mario Strikers on Switch 2's Nintendo Switch Online service. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. We also have a community at facebook.com/groups/thegocast, and even a Discord server. You can find a link for that in the show notes of this very episode. It is Tuesday, July 8th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me is my good friend, Jacob Gunderson. Jake, what's up, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. I feel like I just saw you. We hung out today, played some games. Did some things together, and now we're recording a podcast. It's great.
Chopping wood sucks.
We got rained out a little bit, but anyway, the voice you were not hearing this week is Zach Parkerson. Unfortunately, he is feeling under the weather, so we wish him all the best and hope to have him back next week. But we have a very special treat for you guys. We got a special guest, the founder and CEO of, I'm going to let him pronounce it because KIDAS. This founder and CEO of KIDAS, Mr. Ron Kerbs. Ron, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, we are very excited to have you. I know we're going to get into our topic a little later on about protecting kids online, but can you tell everybody about your company?
Yeah, so KIDAS creates a service mainly for parents, but also for schools and esports teams. They will protect kids while they play. So we analyze voice conversation, text conversation, and protect gamers from scams, bullying, harassment, hate speech, basically any toxicity that can be found while young gamers are playing. So that's basically what we're doing.
That's awesome. Can we get some of that for the adults as well? Because I feel like,
no,
adult bullying is a thing too.
I honestly started because I was playing myself and I was like, what is up with that? And I got, I became a dad like 4.5 years ago, and I was like, I don't want my kid to endure those things. So we got to find a solution. So
I understand.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I played an online game with strangers in a hot mic. If I'm playing online, I'm playing with friends that I know, which is crazy because back in the day, that was how I met friends, was like just by meeting people playing online and then, save that gamer tag. I want to play with that dude again. He was a cool guy. Now it's just like a completely different world in terms of online. So
I don't know about your friend, but my friends are toxic. So
yeah, we got some of that too. So I get that, but
competitive a lot, are they?
So tell us about yourself and your gaming history. You obviously love games. I'm going to put you on the spot. I purposely did not prep you for this. So because I just want to put you on the spot and ask you this question. But we ask every guest, if you had to choose one favorite video game of all time, what video game are you choosing? You're nodding, so I feel like you already have your answer.
Yeah, I think I told you before. I'm a really a GTA addict.
Uh-huh.
I played GTA a lot. Probably it would be GTA San Andreas.
San Andreas, okay.
Yeah, I really like this one. Also, was a big fan of Age of Empires, like the old ones. So definitely that. Call of Duty as well. I don't know. It's very hard to choose one. But probably would be GTA, I guess.
Okay. Man, I haven't played Age of Empires since college. I think Age of Empires 2 was like late 90s. Was that when that game came out?
Yeah,
Age of Empires 2?
Yeah, I think that once you grow up playing specific games, like you always remember them way better than they used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why remasters are awesome, because they look like how you remember them looking, and then when you get the game that lets you toggle back and forth and see what they look like back then and what they look like now is always awesome. I love that feature.
Or terrible.
Or terrible, yes.
I used to play the game looking like this. Oh,
remember how awesome Halo looked the first time we played it? Like I remember looking down and being able to count blades of grass, and I thought that was amazing. And then they did the Halo remaster with the toggle button, and I was like, this is what that game looked like?
Yeah.
I just remember that
Nope.
game looking so much better, but it doesn't look bad. I just, in my mind, it was like the most amazing thing I had ever seen. So I feel like we don't get that nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I felt with FIFA. I played a lot of FIFA growing up,
Uh-huh.
and now when you look at the old FIFA, and I was like, what is that? That is not even playable. Like, how could I play that?
Man, I remember playing football games on like Atari 2600 where the characters were just squares. They weren't even like heads, legs, and torso. It was just a square, like from the adventure character, like the character you play in Adventure. And that was the cool thing when I was a kid. But yeah, we've come a long way, that's for sure. But let's go ahead. Well, Ron, we're so excited to have you, man. I'm looking forward to talking to you more on our topic. But we want to talk about some games that we've been catching up on. Jacob, you've got a really interesting one on your list that I did not realize you had never played this game before.
Yeah, so I went back and I never played Death Stranding, and with the second one out, it looked really good. So I wanted to go back and catch up and know what's going on with the story and stuff before I jumped into 2. I'm about 10 or 15 hours into the game. I'm at chapter 3. I'm in the second area. Anybody who's ever played it before knows what it is, but I did not realize that this game opened up the way that it does in the second map, and I'm building roads and I'm driving cars and I'm getting packages here and there and left and right and stuff, and it's a lot of fun trying to keep everything balanced on my back while I'm going through rivers and stuff. So yeah, this and the story is so intriguing to me that even though that sometimes the walking is mundane, I want to know what's going to happen next, and so I'm like trudging through mud and dirt trying to get to the next story plot.
And are you enjoying those A to B moments? Because to be perfectly direct with you, I got like an hour in this game and I'm like, this is what I'm doing. It's just walking and balancing and walking and balancing. I was like, I don't have the patience for this, but you're enjoying that aspect of it?
There is actually a level of combat, sneaking, and just like maneuverability that you have with this game that you don't have in the first map. Like it's really a tutorial area. Like you're going through and you're okay, A to B, yes, and you can encounter these things. That's great, blah blah whatever. But then as the game progresses, they interweave them in all of your stuff that you're doing, and so you're constantly either taking down some of the bad guys or hiding from the BTs, the big bad things that eat you. And I've died once or twice now, and when you do, you blow up in like a nuclear explosion, and that part of the map is unavailable. And
wait, like so you die and the map blows up and then you're resurrected somehow?
It's your character's special ability is to resurrect from a death. And so when other living people die, they basically I don't remember what exactly in the lore happens, but they blow up if they get eaten by BTs. These unwieldy other earthly creatures. And so yeah, they become like nuclear warheads and leave a giant crater on the field that's, just you can't go into this area. And so I fell into an area where I ran in too quickly. I got stuck in a couple of things and I got eaten and died, and boom. And now that part of the map is just gone.
That is such a Kojima thing to do.
It is. It absolutely
and I know
is.
We're talking about a game that's like what 6 years old now, and I'm just now learning this, but should I give it another shot, or am I going to run out of patience with this?
You'll probably run out of patience.
Okay.
There's a lot of going around and gathering material off the ground.
How weird is it?
Weird?
Yeah.
So the main character is I mean, he's not Norman Reedus, but he's modeled after Norman Reedus. And,
right.
When you have the moments of him like sitting on the bed and whatever, if you move the camera in certain ways, like he'll turn his head and he'll wink at you, or he'll point at things and he'll tell you like, no, you shouldn't do that, or yeah, you should go do that, or whatever. One of the things is like he's got toys in the background that are modeled after the enemies and stuff. And when you go to look at it, he like jumps up, grabs the camera, and like points at his toys, and he moves the camera himself to get you to go look at his toys. And so it's kind of it's a little weird interaction, because like you're playing as him, but like when you are alone with him, he breaks the fourth wall, and then you are the camera, and he just kind of tells you should do things or you shouldn't do things. It's kind of fun.
That is cool. I've been really tempted just to go watch a recap on YouTube, because I'm interested to know what the story is. And if I'm not going to play the first one, I'm probably not going to play the second one. So I kind of want to do the same thing there, just because I'm so curious about what this game is, but I just have very little interest in playing it myself. So I'm glad you're checking it out and can steer me and verify that I'm making the right decision, because I've got too much to play than another 60, 70-hour game. So, but what I have had time to play is a game that I played most of the day today, which is a game I've been talking about for weeks and weeks. It is a game I'm playing on Steam called Galactic Glitch. Ron, have you heard about this game? No,
I haven't.
It's an indie game. It is a twin stick shooter roguelike that's kind of sci-fi. You play a little spaceship, but each of the rooms are like these amoeba bubble kind of things. And I reviewed it when it was in early access, and it's now officially in 1.0. And I am just obsessed with this game. We actually had a discussion this afternoon, Jake and I, about when can you put a game on a Game of the Year list? If it came out in 2024 in early access, but it didn't release until 1.0 in 2025, which year does it belong on a game?
Officially released. That's if you ask me, it has to be officially released.
See, Jake, he says different from you. Discuss, because Jake said that the early access release is when the game is brought to the table, and that's when it should be released.
Unless it's officially released, they can still make changes. That's my view, no? Or maybe I'm mistaken.
They can, yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I feel like when a video game like this goes from the early access to the official release or whatever, there's not really anything that they're changing anymore. They're just saying, okay, we're done doing updates on it. And yet a lot of these companies still do updates on it. And so it doesn't really actually leave early access, because they're still doing the same thing they were before. It's just a different version of it.
That's an interesting thought. I think it also kind of matters in the game, because there are some early access games that I feel like I'm playing an alpha, as opposed to some early access games where I feel like I'm playing a finished product that just needs some minor tweaks. So it kind of depends on that too. But I already put Galactic Glitch on my 2024 Game of the Year list. It was like number 5. So I feel like if I put it on 2025, I'm going to be cheating. But it would definitely make my top. Well, I don't know. This year is pretty nuts, and it's only July, and there's still a lot more coming. So, but anyway, if you guys like Rogues, Galactic Glitch, the changes that they've made now that it is in a 1.0 release are good. Aaron Hughes from our community commented and said, "This means Star Citizen will never be Game of the Year." For those not familiar, Star Citizen is a game that's been in not Kickstarter, but a Kickstarter it's a crowdfunded game that is still not out, and it's been. Aaron's gonna have to give me a number. I want to say 12 to 15 years that game has been in development or release. It's kind of nuts. So anyway, that is what we've been catching up on. Let's go ahead now and jump into the week's news. All right, short list this week. It is summer. Things are a little quieter, but Midnight Walkers is a game we talked about a little bit last week. Got a trailer for that. Resident Evil Survival Unit got announced. It's a mobile game. There's going to be a showcase on July 10th. So by the time you hear this, it'll be about a day away. The Devil Within Satgat has a collector's edition coming. A physical edition on PS5 is available right now. They just announced that. Fallen Tier The Ascension. If you have not checked out that trailer, that game looks amazing. But we also have another news article on a game called Letters of War. All of these are available on our website, thegamingoutsider.com. I recommend checking out Letters of War specifically. Mark is super excited about that one. It's coming to Steam this summer. It looks like a very emotional journey. Also in other news, EA announced the official end to BioWare's Anthem, and Romero Games nearly closes. So some interesting news this week. But Ron, you're our guest, sir. Which story would you like to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about the Romero Games.
Okay.
I was actually interested to hear you guys' thoughts. You talked last week about Microsoft and all of the layoffs, and it definitely affects a lot of studios, even ones that are not owned by Microsoft. Would be happy to hear your thoughts about it, and like what should we expect next?
It was very, very sad news. We had a discussion last week about it and how much it angers us because something like 90, 100 people have lost their jobs because people, higher up in the company have made these decisions to add all these people, and then that turned out to be a mistake or a bad idea, and cuts need to be made, and the ones that are paying that price are not the ones that made those decisions. The other part of that was the studios being shut down. The big one for me was the developer of Perfect Dark, which I'm shocked that game is. I mean, that's such a. We had a bit of a disagreement because I was like, that's a pretty big title, and I think Zach, caught me off guard and was like, well, there was two games. One was from the 64 and one was from the Xbox 360, so it's not a massive franchise. But so it's a bummer for us as consumers, but I think it's a bigger bummer for those affected by it that no longer have jobs. Do you know anybody personally that was affected by these layoffs?
I don't know anyone personally, but like I think about those deals. Microsoft signed a deal to be the publisher of a specific studio, and then last minute they cancel it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like they gotta be like another mechanism. They gotta be compensated, those studios, because people rely on them. I hope that someone else will take the lead, and hopefully we will be able to see some of those games coming out. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it goes a step further when they release a note that says, you're being let go, and it has nothing to do with your skill or your ability to make games, but just because we are just letting you go. Like, well, that's great. Like, I had a job and now I just don't have a job, and it's nothing of my fault. It's you guys. So it just sucks all the way around. But I mean, on another note, they did say that they were working on severance packages for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were going to get some kind of payment out of it. But I think me personally, I'd rather have a job.
Well, yeah,
I'd rather have
everybody would
do. Well, yeah.
And I think the gaming industry is big, but it's not as big as we think it is. And one company like Microsoft can affect the entire industry, because if you're laid off Microsoft and you want to look for a new job in gaming, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities because everyone is now closing. It's a bad time for gaming.
Yes.
So
yeah. Well, and in other sad news, well, it's nearly closes, but Romero Games nearly closed this week. They were working on a new first-person shooter made in Unreal Engine 5 for Xbox, and funding was pulled amidst the recent restructuring and layoffs. So this is kind of part of that. But some employees claim that the 100 or so staff are now out of a job. John Romero himself claims the studio is largely intact, but is already talking to other publishers. So obviously John Romero, a huge name in the industry. I don't know if you guys have read his autobiography. I actually read it, I think, last summer. Fascinating read. Why are you shaking your head? Oh, that's right. You don't know how to read, Jacob. I didn't read it. I listened to an audiobook, but it was read by the author. Okay. But if this is part of all of that, this is a bigger name. I don't want to say that John Romero is more important than these 100 employees or anything like that. But I didn't even realize this was a thing until Zach brought this up. So I wonder what. I'm very curious what a John Romero FPS looks like in 2025, and I hope we get to see the light of day. And I hope that those 100 staff are able to find work if they are not there anymore. I just, like you said, Ron, everything is just kind of nuts right now, just absolutely nuts. Thoughts? Anything you guys want to add?
No, it's just I mean, with all the acquisitions that are happening and the let goes happen, where are these employees supposed to go, other than making their own companies?
Well, and the interesting thing that I'm learning is, as I'm listening to other podcasts talk about people that they know in the industry that have been working in games for a long time and have not released a game. They've been working and then things get pulled. I think someone was talking, I was listening to a podcast this morning or yesterday that said they haven't worked on a game that released in over 12 years. I mean, they're getting paid, they're contracted for that position. They're getting paid for it. but they don't get to see their work come to fruition and actually be in a playable state, which, as an artist, it would be super frustrating, right? Like, you want to see the thing that you did. Money's great. it pays the bills, puts food on the table and all that. But could you imagine working on a piece of art and then that art never being released to the public? It's just nuts.
Yeah, I can compare it to like an NBA player who is always benched. Like, you never get to play, you get to practice, you get to do everything, but you never get to play. You never get to, experience how it really is. And yeah, that can be really frustrating.
I mean, you're also getting $250,000. It's
yeah.
I read somewhere
there's
that
a give and take in everything, right?
Yeah.
I heard somebody this had to have been like 15 years ago. Somebody told me that like the guy that works in the bullpen for the Chicago Cubs that like catches the balls from the pitchers while they're warming up makes $250,000 a year for playing catch. That's all he does. Like, I'm in the wrong field, guys. I gotta find one of those jobs. But
probably does it pretty well.
Yeah, Jake, what about you, sir?
Oh, this one grinds my gears. So EA announced the official end of BioWare's Anthem. So it's supposed to end. It's like a really weird date. It's January 25th, I think, next year, 2026. And so this game did not even get a fair shake. It did not. It was basically produced and released by two of the biggest things in gaming industry right now. And when it was released, they gave a roadmap out on their website stating that they were trying to be like a periodic release of content, that they were going to come out. They had this little package here, and then a month down the road they were going to release another package, and then another month down the road they were going to release another package, a little bit of it. And hey, that's my job. Aaron Hughes says, I love Anthem. Just saying. I also love Anthem. I think it's a great game. I loved how they did a lot of things in the game, but again, not the fair shake because they released such a small packet of data in the beginning, people played it. And I mean, they finished it in a couple of hours and it was over. And so all over the internet, they were saying, well, this is an unfinished game. They worked on it for so long. It should have more details in it. It should have more playability, blah, blah, whatever, all this nonsense. And so
it's that No Man's Sky effect, right?
It is. And they were going to give it a year and see if they could revitalize it. And then EA just pulled it all together and said, it's not getting anything more. It's not getting whatever. And now they're finally killing it.
And this has caused quite a stir on the internet. There are people that are like creating petitions for, keep these games alive and stop killing games. And I get it on one hand because people paid money for these games and the servers are going to be shut down. So that piece of plastic that you have in a case that you paid possibly $60 for however many years ago is now going to be worthless unless you're a collector. You may have a collector's item. Yeah. It comes back to the argument of, are we buying games or are we renting games? So, we've had the argument about physical media versus digital media. And you guys are very much like physical media all the way. Well, here's physical media that is also not going to be available. So, if it's an online game only, you're running the risk of not having that. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, it's easy for me to say that it doesn't bother me because I didn't play Anthem. I think I played the beta. I thought the flying was really rad, but that's about all I remember. I just remember flying around and like feeling like Iron Man. But I'm not super upset that I don't get to ever play this again, even though I think I still have a copy like downloaded on my Xbox or available on my Xbox. But again, it's not my game. There are a bunch of people out there like Aaron who loves this game that is never going to be able to play it again, and you, Jake. But it's also an online game. So there's got to be something that's going to happen in the future. There's going to be a stamp on the box that says, by the way, this is an online game. You're paying money for it. You may not be able to play it. There's got to be like a disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's got to happen, right?
It has to, because, I spent $60 on, I bought Anthem right out the gate. I was super excited for it. I bought 4 copies of Anthem right out the gate. I bought one. I bought a copy for my whole family, and we were all, because it goes up to 4 players. So I thought it was perfect. We are going to be able to sit down and play together, and we did for a little bit. Kids got bored with it again because it was short lived, There was a couple hours worth of entertainment in there, and then it ended, and I played it. Me and my wife played it for a little bit, and again, there was other games that had more content behind it rather than just the game loop of grinding and finishing quests and all that kind of stuff. So we graduated to different things and whatnot. But I went back and I platinumed Anthem. I got all the trophies in it, all the achievements and stuff, and I absolutely love that game because they did things differently when it comes to certain things. And I thought it could have been almost revolutionary for that type of gameplay, but when they decided to try to make it like episodic is where they killed themselves. And if they would have just said, okay, this isn't working for us, let's release everything, I think everyone would have understood, like, hey, you tried something new, it didn't work out, now this, we can forgive you for that. But instead, they scrapped everything that they were working on. They were trying to rework the entire game, and it was just too much work, and EA took it, killed it all.
Hey, it lasted longer than Concord. I mean,
Ron, if you don't know, Concord lasted, I think, a week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then Sony pulled it.
Yeah, kind of a messed up story there.
What that was an 8-year project, Concord.
I don't even remember.
Talking about developers who don't get to see their efforts come through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Could you imagine? Well, it got to be out there, but nobody got to play it for very long. Like I
think in the 2 weeks it sold 100,000 copies, and they were just like, no, it's not worth it.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, like I said, short news week, but I just want to circle back to this Letters of War game. If you guys have not checked out the trailer, look up that trailer. It looks like a very sweet story, but also emotionally gripping. So that's all I'm going to say. Just look at that trailer. I think it looks really great. I'm hoping that we can get Mark a copy of that to play. So. Okay, well, that's going to do it for news. Let's go ahead and talk about R2V2. If you guys aren't aware, this is our video game convention that we are hosting in October. Jacob, why don't you tell everybody about this?
So I did see some new people in the chat recently. So for those of you that are new here, the Rock River Valley Video Game Convention, or R2V2 as we call it, is our convention that we hold right here in Rockford, Illinois. With help from local businesses, Go Rockford, which is what is that? The community, I don't remember what it's
formerly called. the RACVB.
Not use actual words rather than the
Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yeah, those people, they're
now just Go Rockford,
right? Anyway, but a lot of our friends come together and help us bring this convention to life. We bring musicians, developers, collectors, and players from all over to celebrate our favorite hobby. This year we have Jer, who's a solo pianist out of Chicago. He'll be our opening act. The Adventurers Guild will be our second performers, and Arc Impulse is going to be our headliner. Both of those bands, the middle one and the end one, are Bobby Shields, who's a good friend of ours. For the next week, you guys are running out of time. For the next week, tickets are on sale for both the convention and the concert for only $10. So the sale ends July 14th. So.
And let me just tell you guys, $10 for the convention and the concert is a steal, because there's going to be like over 20 arcade games that you're going to be able to play free play all day long. There's just going to be so much to do. You're going to have access to an awesome VR game where you get to play in a giant room 3-on-3 against people shooting each other. It is awesome. And the music on top of it. You're not going to want to miss it. Check it out on thegamingoutsider.com. Also, if you are a fan of The Gaming Outsider and would like to help support us, you can do so at Patreon. We've got a link, patreon.com/thegocast. And if you donate just $3 each month, that will give you each of our episodes ad-free on the app, as well as give you access to any of our bonus content that we do. I'm still trying to convince Jake to do a Married to the Mic episode with his wife, Mindy. It's going to happen, Mindy. You're going to do it, and you're going to like it. But in the meantime, you can listen to all of our spoiler casts on The Last of Us. I did that with my buddies over at The Hollywood Outsider, and Jake and I talked about Blueprints in a spoiler-filled episode that was a lot of fun. But now it's time for us to go talk about the new games that we've been playing. All right, the list is a little bit longer this week of new releases. First off, big one, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox, Switch, Switch 2, and PC on July 11th. On July 15th, we've got Eric's Home, The Stolen Dream. That game looks amazing. Ready or Not, that is on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Ready or Not on PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. Eden Zero on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Neverwinter Nights 2 Enhanced Edition on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. And Gaucho and the Grassland on PC. Moving on to July 17th, Donkey Kong Bonanza on Switch 2. It's like the fourth exclusive for that console. RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business comes out on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. The Drifter on PC. The Wandering Village on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. The Necromancer's Tale on PC. Fretless, The Wrath of Rifson on PC. Golden Tee Arcade Classics. Yes, you heard that correctly. Golden Tee coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. And lastly, Diluvian Wind on PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. Ron, this is quite a list, sir. Anything on here stand out that you might like to pick up after your kids go to bed?
Yeah, I'll definitely go with Tony Hawk. I played a lot of like the last version. I played it on various platforms. I played on PC, PS, 3 and 4, I think. And so definitely excited to see what is coming up with that. And definitely spend a lot of hours covering that. That's like a very addictive game.
All right. Very cool. Tony Hawk 3 and 4. What about you, Jacob?
I'm going to probably have to try out Donkey Kong Bonanza. I mean, we both have Switch 2s, so why not?
Yes. I think of this list, Donkey Kong Bonanza is one that stands out. I've been listening to a lot of people talk about that. I watched the showcase, and I feel like they're selling me on that game. Like it's just looking better and better and better. So that one probably would be my pick, but I'm going to be out of the country when that game comes out, so I'm probably not going to. I know, man. Video game's coming out, and I'm leaving for vacation. But I think if it weren't for that, I would be checking out this Eric's Home, The Stolen Dream. That game looks incredible, and I don't even remember hearing about it. Came out of nowhere for me, and the graphics just looks absolutely stunning. So,
although it appears that Aaron Hughes is going to be playing Fretless, so
yes,
he can have that game.
If I remember correctly, is that the one that's like a turn-based JRPG, music-based? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think so.
Yeah. I love the concept as well, too. It looked, it's just there was a couple things that looked a little bit more interesting to me. So, all right. I want to talk about...
more interesting to you.
Jacob, you and I got a chance to play a little bit of The Alters, which I know came out like 3 weeks ago, but I have heard so much buzz about it. I had to check this out. And so here's the thing. I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat, those of you listening, I tried this game. It is not my kind of game. It is a very much kind of a survival game. So I asked Jake to come over and play this game because I knew that he liked this kind of game. And 2 hours later, my power went out and we were forced to not play the game anymore. But I was having a great time watching you play this game. You want to explain to everybody what The Alters is?
So you are sent to a planet to collect a rare mineral, and on the way to the planet, everyone crashes and dies, and you are left alone on the planet, and you have to find a way to survive. Mm-hmm. Unlike other survival games, this is more of beat the clock than it is actual like hunger, stamina, all that kind of stuff. So you only have so many hours in the day to go do things, and then you need to sleep. But at the same time, you only have so many days before the sun reaches you and burns you alive.
Yeah, this is a universe where there's like 3 suns. So if you can imagine the geometry of like the solar system, you get too close to the sun, it's going to literally burn everything up. And you were on one of those planets.
Right. So you go out, you collect minerals, you bring it back to the ship, you do big things. But one of the biggest things of the game is that you can make altered versions of yourself. These alters are better at certain skills than you are because of memories that have been rewritten to allow them to know things better than you. So the first couple that I got, one was a scientist who was obviously a lot smarter than I was because the memories that we gave him made him smarter than me. And he points that out constantly. Another one that we had was a mechanic of sorts, and he's kind of gruffy, he's kind of angry with you, he's
got a killer stash.
Yeah. But they are people who you bring into existence and grow up using this special material that you find, and you have to either lie to them or tell them that, like, hey, I grew you in a tube and you're here to work for me. And so you're kind of doing this balancing act with these people who are you, who share the same memories of you and all this nonsense. They went through the same traumas you did as a kid and whatever, and you're trying to relate to them, but then at the same time, you don't relate to them because their memories are fabricated and they did completely different things than you did. And almost like a skill tree in the memory screen, it shows flashpoints where the memory diverges from your own and new memories are written. And so one of I think it was the mechanic guy, when your own character left home and went overseas to learn different things and your mother died, like, you missed out on that. But in his memories, he stayed home and he got to be there when his mother passed, and all of this other stuff came to be in his life. And so he's got this completely different set of skill sets. He's got completely different ideas that you do. And when you guys, finally you pull him out of the tube or whatever, and you start talking to him, he almost hates you because you made him. Everything he knows is a lie.
Because he has all these memories of his entire life that didn't actually happen. They were manufactured by a computer.
Yeah.
So the computer says, oh, you need a mechanic to be able to survive because it's just you on this place. So they're going to grow in a clone of you, and they're going to pump all of these memories into that clone. Some of them are going to be the same as yours, but it's going to splinter off at a certain point in life. And this guy is going to have experienced a completely different portion of life after a certain point in time. And it is a fascinating experience to me. Like, I almost don't even know if I want to tell about the last character that you came across. Do you think that's spoilery, Jacob, or is that are we?
Well, we'll go one step before it with the scientist.
Okay.
When you make the scientist, he comes out and the computer gave him glasses, and the scientist immediately realizes, I don't need the glasses to see, but the computer was making a character, and the character had glasses, and so the computer gave me glasses, even though I, as a person, do not need the glasses. And so there is this level of the computer is making characters, but the characters are self-aware. Mm-hmm. And so they have their own memories, and because they have their own memories, they know who they're supposed to be, but when they come out of it, they aren't who they are in their memories. And
then the game turns into a relationship building game at some point, because you go and you have conversations with these guys, and the things that you can say might piss them off, or it might make, they have the whole like telltale, like so-and-so will remember that kind of thing. But instead of those words, you'll see emotions radiate on these characters, like joy or frustration. So like you're trying to do everything you can to keep these guys happy because you need them to work. You need them in order to survive. And then the other aspect of the game is, what do you call it? Your home base. What is that thing called? The big wheel? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, they call it the base.
Your base is like, if you can imagine, it's a massive wheel with all of these different compartments attached on the inside. And it's a massive wheel so that the whole thing can roll and is mobile on the planet. But all of the modules inside are staying stationary, or staying upright rather. So they're attached, but they're loosely attached so that you're not tipping. So you're also building out extra rooms in your base. Like, you have to build a dormitory, you have to build a kitchen, and all these things in order to supply the base with the needs that you have, so that you can power up the base and move on to the next thing to outrun the sun. And again, we're not done. There's still more mechanics to this, right?
Wait, yeah.
Then you, like you said, you have to go out of the base and and harvest minerals and materials and things like that, and build structures in order to mine all of this stuff. And that's like a third person. It feels like a third person shooter, but we haven't come across any enemies yet, at least from what I've seen. But you're placing things to dig. Go ahead, Jacob. You played the game more than I did. I just watched. I'm just fascinated by this game.
You were doing a good job, but yeah, you go out in the world and the game kind of gives you hints of where certain materials will be, and then you have to scan for those materials, and you put down a deep miner, and again, all these things, all these actions take time. And when you go to use this machine that digs into the ground, it says it takes like 5 hours to do, and so then your character stands there for, it speeds up time, but for you, it's like 30 seconds, but your little time meter in the bottom left-hand corner just kind of drains, but you get a bunch of materials for it. But then when you start getting these people, these alters of yourself, you can kind of, I think at some point you're going to be able to assign them to things, but they can go out in the world and they can do these mining jobs for you as well.
So there's like an RTS at that point, like you get workers to go do this and that, whatever, but it's more personal. Like these are NPCs that have a personality and they look just like you, but they're slightly altered to like different hairstyles, and like there's like the opening screenshot for when you boot up the game and you see like a picture of like 12 alters or whatever. We've only got 3 so far, right? But you see like how crazy different they all are, but they all have the same face. So it's like clearly a clone of the same guy. It is a fascinating concept, and if you've got Game Pass, do yourself a favor and just check this out, because I am fascinated by like I was watching Jacob playing, but I was kind of watching with one eye because I was doing some work on my laptop and listening, and I was legitimately on the edge of my seat, excited. Like remember when Jake, you were out doing something and you came back and all of a sudden both of your clones were in the room. You never had a chance to introduce them to each other. And we're both like on bated breath, like they're talking. What's going to happen? And it was like nerve wracking to go in and they're just fine. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm glad you're here. Let's do some push-ups. Like it was just a little anticlimactic, but it was just very exciting.
Do you as a player know what their memories are, or no? Like the clone memories?
It's really cool because like Jake was talking about, there's like a strand, like you start out with your character has a strand of memories. It's supposed to be like a DNA strand, and each little bubble along there, you can actually go and read your character's personal story up until he goes on this mission. And then when you make one of these alters, it kind of splinters off, kind of like Back to the Future does with the timeline when he's drawn that on a chalkboard. And it splinters off, and now you have this character's new memories, and he has his own set of nodules that are completely different. And one of the early things that Jake had to do was, in order to get the first alter that was really upset and frustrated about where he was and why he was there and how he was basically growing in a test tube, Jacob had to go into his memories, learn about him, and use that information in order to be able to calm him down more or less. And get him in the right frame of mind. And I think you guys like you shared a meal that was like something that your mother made, right?
We connected as like teenagers who grew up with the same mother, and so we tried to replicate the meal that she would make for us when we were upset. And so there's 2 people who share the same memories, sharing the same meal, and just bonding as if they were brothers. And it was kind of a weird experience, but it was kind of cool to see at the same time.
But that's only one instance. There's like even the ones that we haven't seen yet. It is just genuinely a fascinating experience, especially with how many different gameplay styles are in this. Survival, building the base, going out and collecting minerals, the relationship building, and whatever else that they've got cooked up that we haven't seen yet. So the Alters, it's available on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. It comes from 11-Bit Studios. But if you're on Game Pass, you're already paying for it, go check this game out. Otherwise, you can pick it up for $34.99. Game Pass Ultimate, I should be clear. So fascinated by that game. All right, we got one more game to talk about, and that is Super Mario Strikers, which is not a brand new game. However, it did just drop on the Nintendo Switch 2 for their Nintendo Switch Online service, which Jacob and I both subscribe to. And I got to be honest, Jake, I've never played Super Mario Strikers.
Neither have I.
You hadn't either? Okay. Nope. I played soccer games, and Ron, you said you were a big FIFA guy, right?
Yeah. FIFA Pro Evolution, yeah.
Okay, so did you play the original Super Mario Strikers?
I haven't, but we support a lot of esports teams, and they definitely play. So I watched tons of kids play it, but I didn't play it myself.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Jake, did you jump right into a match, or did you like go try to learn how to play the
I
game
tried to
first?
learn. I tried to learn. I was going to make a fool out of myself.
Well, yeah, because I had no idea what buttons were what, and so I'm gonna go find a tutorial, and it's like hard. It's not hard to find. It's on the main menu, but it's not clearly a tutorial. It's just like Soccer 101 or something. I can't remember what they call it. Strikers 101.
Yeah.
And then they just do like these little training videos that tell you what the buttons do. And I'm like, okay, I got the basics. But that game is a lot more complicated than I was expecting it in terms of it's not just passing and shooting. There's like buttons you hold in order to do the super kick and all this kind of good stuff. Were you able to successfully do any of those?
It kind of reminds me of Rematch.
Oh, does it?
Oddly enough, it's just not third person. So yeah. You have certain buttons to lob the ball. You have certain buttons to pass it and to dribble it a little bit more. And then you have specialized kicks and stuff to do. You have the jump shots and whatnot. It just there's actually a lot of maneuvers that you can do. So I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I don't want to play against a computer though. This is a game I want to play like with you or with somebody. Playing next to each other. I thought it was interesting that like you pick one player. Like I picked like Mario, let's say. And then your teammates, I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to pick like Luigi and maybe have Bowser on my team. No, like you pick one other character and there are clones of that character. So like I did the Birdo character. So it was Mario and like 3 Birdos. And then whatever the goalie is like a lizard creature or something like that. But it was a lot of fun. It was tougher than I expected. I was playing it on easy and I was still getting demolished. Like there's like rules that I don't get. Like you build up, you get these special power up items. If you get hit, like if you get slide tackled or something like that, you can like throw a green shell or something like that. And I just never. I was still like trying to learn the mechanics of the game. But yeah, I want to sit down and actually play this with you, dude, because I think that's going to be the fun.
Okay.
Yeah, let's make that
see
happen.
Some of those young players play it. You don't even see their fingers. They're so fast. They know all of the combinations. It's like pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't play against young people anymore. I hurt my fingers.
Well, that's all the new games we've been playing. Before we get to our topic, I want to remind everybody about places that you can follow us online, including facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. We got a very robust community over there, and I do my best to keep everything updated on there, as well as all the social media sites with any relevant news. And I've been doing this thing for about a month now, where I've been going through and doing like a this day in video game history post. Like on this day, this game came out 14 years ago or whatever. Like a little mini history lesson every day. And I've been putting that on there on Facebook. I've been putting it on our Discord server. Again, there's a link for that in the show notes. Hello to Vanadar, who is a brand new member over there on Discord. And also Fuse.io. If you have not checked out that platform, it is an awesome video game exclusive social media outlet that I am posting on there every single day as well. Highly recommend checking that out. There's a link for that in the show notes as well, if you'd like an invite link. Also, if you could do us a favor, drop us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, wherever you listen to the show. We would appreciate it. And lastly, check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com. There you can find all of our written reviews, and we would love it if you check that out. We put a lot of love into those. But with that, it is time for us to jump into our From the Outside In topic. All right, Ron, you are joining us once again, and this week we've got an expert on online protection as a guest. So we're going to start with you, sir. Can you share with us some of the findings that KIDAS discovered about children's online interactions? And I know this was fascinating when you guys emailed this to me, and I wanted our listeners to hear it as well.
Yeah, so we're currently protecting more than 900,000 players in game chats, voice chat, text chat, in-game events. And in the first quarter of 2025, we've been finding a lot of threats. So we almost alerted parents in school about 3,000 threats. A lot of them are online predators, 75 cases of online predators, pedophiles actually reaching out to kids. We had cases of suicidal behavior that we luckily caught on time. A lot of cases of kids sharing personal information that they shouldn't be sharing while playing,
Mm-hmm.
in public chats. Thousands of cases of kids sharing credit card information of their parents, even social security number, their
Oh
real
my gosh.
address, phone numbers. Definitely things that you don't want your kids to share.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal there, to make sure that we're not, you know, we're making gaming safe and fun, without the toxicity, and teaching kids how to play games, in a way that should be played.
Absolutely. I'm curious, like you said, there were 75 cases of online predators that were after kids. These were all customers, correct? Like people that are subscribed to your service. So in that
Yeah.
case, are you involving law enforcement, or is this just a notifying the parents situation? What does that do?
Yeah, so we're notifying the parents. We work also with schools. A lot of schools have esports programs, so we notify the educators as well if it's part of the esports program. In
Hmm.
certain states, for example, Florida, we're obligated to inform the state, so we do that. And in some other states, we don't have to do that. We typically, if we're not, if we don't have to do that, we typically trust the parents and inform the parents. We'll provide them with information on how to deal with the situation, what are the right numbers to call, how should they talk about it with their kids. We do understand that no one want to get this type of message, so we definitely understand that if you get it as a parent, even if you're a gamer, you freak out, you don't really know what to do. So that's why we provide information on how to deal with the situation, what should you do next, basically give you a checklist. Hey, those are the things that you should do next, and we've created those checklists with experts. So experts that are children psychologists, psychiatrists, game experts, risk experts. They know exactly what to do based on the child's age, based on exactly what happened.
I'm curious about the reception that you get from parents when you inform them. Are they like immediate, like, well, my kid's never playing games again, or are they, well, like, thank you for the help, and we're gonna keep doing this, and do they go to the police? Like, do they go and try to get something done?
Yeah, so honestly, at the beginning, we didn't provide recommendation. We just alerted them, and then we saw a lot of kids, leaving our service, not playing anymore because they were not allowed to play anymore. But we're pro gaming. I told you, I'm a gamer myself. So we decided to create those recommendations to make sure that kids are, continuing to play. We know that gaming is positive if you do it in a safe way, and but parents should know what are the right ways to talk about the situation and deal with the situation. We actually had a few, weird cases in which we alerted parents about their kids being the ones scamming people or bullying people, and they left our service. They're like, "Hey, you're liars! Like, I cannot trust your service. I can't believe my kid
Oh yeah.
would be doing something like that." So
Hmm.
that happened as well.
I'm a school teacher, and I'm baffled that any parent would have that response. And I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, not my kid, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not gonna
My,
happen.
my little angel would never do that.
Yeah.
My I think he was 12 at the time, and he was playing this game called Trove, and it's a very resource heavy game. They go, players can go out in the world and mine resources or beat bosses and get certain things, and then they can go back to a town of other players online and sell those items that they've collected to other players. And this little monster was upcharging so much on these items that I'm like, you're a little scam artist is what you are. I just I'm like, dude, you can't do this to people. But he's older now. He's kind of learned. He was like, yeah, I was kind of being a jerk.
So he was on the other end of it. You're not
Oh,
worried
yeah.
about protecting your kid. You're worried about protecting the other kids from your kid.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we know this is a problem, and I don't have any kids. I got 5 cats, and they're not playing any games online until they grow opposable thumbs. But for you, Jacob, what methods have you used? I know it sounds like you said, you're on the opposite end of the spectrum here, but what did you do to keep your kids safe when they were playing online back when I know they're adults now, but What did you do when they were younger?
There are some really hard conversations that you need to have with your kids, and there are certain things that you need to talk about that, you might think, okay, they're too young, especially when you talk about like, pedophiles or whatever, people that wanted to groom your children or talk to them in certain ways. And it's like, this stuff will never happen to my kid. And it's like, well, it doesn't happen until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And, the best way to protect your child is to make sure like, hey, you need to understand that it's a threat. It's, the same things we used to, we told our kids in school about strangers, stranger danger. The guy who rolls up in the van and says, hey, I've got candy. Well, don't get in the van. These things happen. And,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't bat an eye back then, but now you're talking about kids, hey, people are going to, come and say things to you that, maybe you like, maybe you don't like, but, don't go off with them. Don't be alone on the internet with these people. They can be a threat to you. And it is so much easier to disappear on the internet than what people even want to imagine. You go, we used to have AOL chat rooms. Okay, you just open up a new chat room, you pop into it. It's just you two, you say whatever it is, and then whatever. And now it's you've got Discord, you've got Facebook, you've got this, you've got that, you've
Video.
got video, you've got
Yeah.
oh god, Snapchat. Just it's such a wide range of things where you can just
Roblox.
completely, yeah. Well, not even Roblox, any kind of chat service that you can have. It is so easy to just vanish and be alone with somebody else, and you don't even have to move that far. It's just a click away. And so it's a really hard conversation you have to have with your kids. And I think I had it around when they were 11 or 12, and I was like, don't share information. Don't say your name. Don't give them this. Don't give them your address. Don't, these are things that you need to understand to protect yourself from people who are online, because people don't tell the truth. People don't want to tell the truth. And the people who want to hurt you, they are definitely going to lie to you and tell you the things that tell you what you want to hear to make you believe that you can trust them. And like, I am not aware of any scenarios that may or may not have happened with my kids, but I know my kids have gone out of their way to be jerks to other children. And then I've told them, well, that's not okay, because, these are other children also trying to enjoy this game. And if you're going to be this way, then, when it happens to you, you shouldn't be, actually one of, Zig was actually really big into Rocket League for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they used before they got bought by Epic, they used to give blueprints for items, and you had access to those items right away.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a trading system, and some kid, convinced my kid that, hey, I'll give you this if you give me that, because he had it on his card. He was showing off that he had this really rare item. And this other kid convinced him, hey, if you send me this, I'll send you that. And so he took it off of his car and sent it away electronically. And this kid got it, and he never sent him anything in return.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, you used to do this, basically the same thing to other kids. Now you're on the receiving end of it. What have we learned? Like, it's not
karma.
It's not nice. It's not nice.
Yeah.
That feeling is not good. So,
well, and your kids were lucky that their parents were gamers and understood what the online community is like. There's a lot of parents out there that, oh, my kid's on playing video games, and may not even realize that he's playing online and talking to people. So I think that's where someone like Ron comes in, and what he's doing is not only providing the service, but also educating parents on what's going on when it comes to video games, because they're not in front of a screen playing games and playing online like you are. So it's all about educating the parents just as much as it is in order to keep those kids safe. Am I correct there, Ron?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to follow up with all of the new games. Listen, we currently connect to 3,200 games. Like, if you're a parent, you cannot follow up with all of the new games. Even with the big titles, when we're talking about Roblox, we're talking about Fortnite, Minecraft. A lot of the parents don't know what is Robux, what is V-Bucks. They don't know. They don't speak the language, and you have to speak the language if you want to understand. If you want to have dinner conversations with your kids, especially if it's a big part of their life. And we have a lot of customers whose kids are esports players. They probably spend like 15, 20, 25 hours a week playing. They want to become pros, and Imagine that, your kid is a basketball or a soccer player and you don't know the rules of the game. That's not going to be it. Why would it be different in esports?
That's a whole other argument, man.
Yeah.
I could go on a soapbox on that whole thing because, just how sports are like. Well, of course, everybody knows how to play sports because sports is like widely accepted. Everybody knows these games. You know what I mean? But guess what? But no, I don't want my kids aren't going to play video games. That's for kids, right? Guess what? Baseball, basketball, football, those are games for children that they made into games for adults. You know what I mean? Like, This is the same thing. We're just not, we didn't do it as soon as sports. So, don't get me started.
But one of the biggest points I think he is making is that if you don't speak the language of gamers, when you're trying to connect with your children on a gaming level, like, hey, this is that, whatever, don't do this. Like, if you don't use the same lingo or same communication skills they have in their game, you're not going to connect to them. Like,
exactly.
When we sit at the dinner table, my family, we've got three hardcore gamers, well, two hardcore gamers, a third gamer, and then my wife, Mindy. And she is not as educated when it comes to game lingo as the rest of us. And so we are having this conversation 3 feet away from her and she understands nothing of it. She doesn't know all of the words that we're using.
Mindy.
And it's not against Mindy. She doesn't play games. There it is. That's my wife. It's nothing against you, but we start getting into like hardcore conversations about games, and sometimes it's just there's just too much lingo. There's too much verbiage that's happening that not everyone connects with, and that's absolutely true. And so if you know what you're looking for, you can find it easily. But when you're just window shopping at this stuff, you don't know what's what. Right. Is that bad? Is that good? Is that normal?
Sometimes even parents tell their kids things that are honestly impossible. They tell them, "Hey, don't talk with anyone." But if you're playing as part of the team and you're like trying to coordinate something, some move, and you have the proximity chat, voice chat, and you have to coordinate with your teammates, that's impossible. It's basically like telling them, "Hey, don't play the game." Mm-hmm. Sometimes parents don't understand it. They're like, "Hey, don't talk with anyone. Just play the game."
Well, because video games are a lot different than they were when they were kids. You know what I mean? Like, even those that like grew up in the NES era, those were more than score grab games from like the arcade and Atari era. But again, most of those games were like sit down and play your game, not hop online and talk with people and coordinate, like you said. And it's just that simple education aspect of it. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and preach about stuff like that, not being a parent. But I feel like if I had a kid, and if my kid were interested in something that I wasn't, I would become interested in it because my kid was interested in it. You know what I mean? And again, I understand that's so easy for me to say. I'm not judging parents out there that don't do that because I don't know what it's like to be a parent. I have no idea what it takes. Jake, you're lucky. Your wife is into the same stuff that you are, and your kids. You all love video games.
One of the biggest things I had when I was growing up, and this is going to blow some people's minds, but I was a huge gamer as a child. My mom, I don't know if she left me with the electronic babysitter or whatnot it was, but from the moment that I can remember, I had a controller in my hand, and that's what it was. And when I would go and something would happen, it was just me and my mom. And so when I needed to talk to somebody, when I needed to have, a conversation about games, I'd go talk to this almost 40-year-old woman who had a 10-year-old as a child who was into all these games, and she did nothing but listen. And that's sometimes the hardest thing for a parent to do, because there are so many things happening in an adult's life that when the child comes out and starts talking about things that you don't know anything about or you don't have any interest in whatsoever, just listening could be the hardest thing. But once you you start tuning stuff out like that, you start tuning out valuable information. You start tuning out what your child is doing, who they're conversating with, what kind of conversations they're having, and, what they're actually doing in the game. And, it wasn't, I wasn't the best parent. I set my kids down for a little bit and they were playing Saints Row, and it was only, Saints Row is GTA on drugs, lots of drugs. And
How old was he? Like 8?
He was probably 11, maybe.
All right.
And it wasn't the best thing, but he was like, "Oh, look, this game's kind of funny and cartoony and whatever." And then I realized that he was getting into the rougher areas of the game, and I was like, "Oh, okay, no, we can't do that anymore." He started talking to me about things, and I was like, "Oh man, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we can't be doing that."
Baseball bat, a purple baseball bat, as it comes to mind.
There is a yeah, I don't even know how to say it nicely.
Yeah, we're not going to say it, but there's a and it's funny you say that, because again, it sounds like I'm being judgmental. I just don't understand it, because I even, like, when I go out to eat with families that have kids, and I feel like so many parents are like, kids are supposed to be seen and not heard kind of thing, and I'm more interested in talking to the kid. You know what I mean? Like the adults want to have this conversation about politics and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I want to talk to the kid about games. What are you in? What bands are you into right now? What kind of music do you like? And then the kid feels special. I know this makes me sound like a total creep, but I'm a teacher. This is like part of my job. It's the fun part of being a teacher, is sitting down with a kid and them having a conversation with you, and you understand what they're talking about. And if you don't, you ask questions genuinely, and they get excited about it. And that's what, like, I feel like I would do if I were a parent. So anyway, we're getting off on a little bit of a rabbit trail. Ron, I want to come back to you, because you've heard things that Jake has done and things that I don't do because I don't have kids. But what do you recommend for our listeners? Because if people are listening to this show, they are probably gamers themselves. And for those that have kids, what recommendations do you have for them in order to keep their kids safe when they're online? I know you don't want to do what a lot of my coworkers do and just say, just don't play video games. That's not an option. Yeah. What is the best way to keep them safe?
You just inform yourself about the type of games that your kids are playing. Maybe you're playing different games. You're not interested in the games that they're playing, but play with them for an hour and two, learn what they're doing, and talk with them. Have the honest conversation about what you should be or not be shouldn't be sharing and doing online. And use some tools, use some parental controls, and make sure that you're letting them play age-appropriate games based on their age. My dad got me GTA when I was like 9 or 10. And it wasn't like he wasn't doing it because he was a bad dad. He just didn't know back then that the age restriction applies for those type of games. So definitely check those things and play with them. That's the best.
Which is funny, because movie ratings have been a thing forever, and you slap them on a video game, and all of a sudden we're like, well, what does that mean? Yeah. I mean, I get it. They look different. We've seen that font of PG and PG-13 and R for 40, 50 years, right? Those are like burned into our brains. Yeah. And if parents aren't playing games, they're not in front of them all the time. But there needs to be some kind of education. What was Ron? I think last time we had you on, we were talking about, there was a website that used to be in existence that was all about educating parents. It was a guy that I used to listen to on Garnet Lee's podcast. I think it was One Up Yours was the name of the podcast, and he was a regular guest on the. You know what I'm talking about? It's
a parents gaming database. And
yes.
If you actually use our service, we're going to recommend relevant articles from them based on your child's activity. So when you install our software, we start, connect to the games that your child play. We understand what the game they're playing. And as part of the reports and alerts that we send you, we're going to send you alerts from the parent gaming database. And so definitely recommend check them out. And you can go check specific games. It's going to give you full information about what games are played. Maybe we can, add it in the show notes or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even the ESRB, which, it's the rating board. That's what gives games a mature rating or a kid to adult rating, things like that. That will give you a specific breakdown of what kind of content is in that game. It'll rate you on how much sex and violence is in there, how much vulgarity is in there, how much violence is in there. Gratuitous violence, like it will. I've actually gone and looked at those, and they'll give you lines of dialogue of like, this is a kind of conversation that happens in this game, and then make the decision. But it all comes down, like you said, to communication. Talk with your kids, and see what they're playing. Paul Hine has a comment here. He says, "Play the games with the kids." We're going to hold off on. This is Paul speaking. He says he's going to hold off on portable devices for his kids for a long time. His kids are under 5. But he says that they do all their screen time together in the living room, and parents control the remote. I think that's huge. Again, we look at a parent that may not like basketball, but their kid likes basketball, and the parent is probably going to still go watch their basketball games because they love their kid and they want to be a part of it. But when we ask them to do the same thing for video games, we get the stink eye. It's what they're interested in. It's what they like. It's not a detriment. There's no negative effects as long as you regulate it and keep them safe and talk to them. So it sounds like the biggest thing that you recommend is communicating. But if they're interested in your services, where do they go? What do they do to see what you do for them?
So definitely check us out at GetKidas, GetKidas.com. You can definitely download our software. We currently support computers only. And we also work with a few internet service providers, with a few antivirus providers. So if you're using one of their services, you definitely can get our service. But the best way to get it is get us directly from the website. You're going to get the full service there.
All right. So again, that is getkidas.com, GetKidas.com. I got that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I do have a couple questions about that because you mentioned that like this is, tracking these online interactions. And I know that some parents are going to hear that and they're going to balk at the word monitoring.
You're watching my children.
Yeah. So how do you talk to a parent about that? Like where is the line blurred between monitoring and someone is watching me or someone is watching my kid?
Yeah. I think a lot of parents treat it like the big brother. At the end, we have a computer software that is there to flag things that, we train them to think are dangerous for their kids. And, at the end, we're not sharing it with any third party. We're deleting it. We're using it only for the purpose of protecting your kids. So we're not using it to, sell you anything. We're not selling it to any third party or anything like that. We're doing it only for protecting your kids. And actually, a lot of the analysis is done on the device of the kid. And so we're trying to make it as privacy preserving as possible.
Very cool. Good to know, man. I appreciate that information. I hope people check that out. And we may need to talk as well because, as you know, I'm a school teacher. I'm at the elementary level. So, but kids are doing that. But I don't know. I'm starting at a new school this year, so I have no idea if they have any kind of online gaming program. But if that's the case, that's something that would want to be looked at. I can even talk to the high school in my district and see if that's something that they do, that they may want to have that extra layer of protection. So we'll talk more later, but I appreciate you coming and talking to us about KIDAS. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about some questions that we got from our community. Jacob, I'm going to have you read those for me, man, because I have an unupdated document here. So I'm going to need you to read those comments for me.
Really? Your document's undated? Okay. So Mark Scamancy on Facebook says, can AI or machine learning help in identifying cyberbullying behaviors or identify threat actors in real time?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. By the way, if any of you guys manage a Discord server and I know that you guys manage one, and you're concerned about, the safety of your participants, we also have a Discord bot. So you can install our bot, and then basically as admins, you get an alert if someone is harassing anyone, trying to scam anyone, while they're on your server. So that's definitely something that we do for the community as well. You can use it for free.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk. Awesome. That's cool.
So Mark goes on and says, are there different types of threat vectors or vulnerabilities in online video games compared to what we typically see on standard computers or web services?
Yeah, definitely different. So when we talk about threats in video games, we talk about social threats. So we talk about threats that are part of the conversation between two or more people. So scams, bullying, harassment. When we talk about the traditional computer threats, we're talking about viruses, we're talking about computer vulnerability that is part of, that is blocked by a firewall or using some zero-day hacks or those kind of things. So most of the things that we protect against are basically social hacking. So people who are trying to use social vulnerabilities, trust building to scam kids, to harass kids, and so on.
Gotcha. And finally, Mark says, I'm already in the tech world, but continuing my education in cybersecurity realm, how might I find these jobs opening with video game companies? That one you might not know.
Yeah,
that one's a little adjacent, but
basically, are you hiring, Ron? That's what he's asking.
So, we're always hiring. I think we're always looking for good people. I think that the biggest tip that I would give anyone who's looking for a job in the gaming space is go to San Francisco, attend GDC, the Game Developer Conference in March. That's the best way to meet and talk with all of the studios, with all of the big gaming companies. I've attended, I think, 3 times, and the community is amazing. Like, everyone is so open and ready to talk, and there are so many opportunities out there. So definitely attend this conference in San Francisco. GDC is typically in March in San Francisco.
Awesome.
There you go, Mark. It's only about 2,000 miles away from you, man. Just get on a plane.
It's all good. All right, over on TikTok we have Old Fool Gamer. Who is that? Scott, you know him?
I don't know him. He's a TikTok follower. I don't know him personally.
Anyway, it's a big deal for me. He says, I have always reminded my kids that the concept of game is to have fun. When that gets lost, the game is off. I don't let my kids fall down the rabbit hole. Online interactions can turn negative quickly. It's more of just a comment, more of than a question, but I highly agree with him that interactions, 1 second they're good, next second they're bad.
Yeah. I think the problem with a lot of the interactions is that, for example, predators, one of the typical behaviors is the trust building. So someone is complimenting your kid, hey, you're a very good player, hey, just compliment. That's not considered bad behavior. That's like good behavior. Yeah, they're being very nice. But that's one of the tactics that online predators are using to build trust and eventually get those kids to give in details and send them photos and do some other things.
Is that something that you flagged to keep an eye on?
Yeah, we do those things. So we support 64 types of risk, and detecting online predators is one of them.
Gotcha. Well, I meant specifically, does it know when, okay, this person's been commenting, positively a lot, we should watch this person more?
Yeah.
Cool.
We do that. We do that because the way to do that is to differentiate between 2 players who have different age. So let's say we have 2 players who are communicating. One is 14, one is 40. So you say, first of all, their voice might be different, but then you can say, hey, they might be using voice changers. But if they're using voice changers and one is Gen Alpha and the other one is, much older, they're going to use different words. So you cannot, if you're 40, you're not going to use the same words as Gen Alpha. So that's a quick way for our software to understand if someone is, much older than the player that is playing.
So if you hear a 40-year-old go, I'm about to crash out, something's up.
Yeah.
or you hear that was a good shot.
Or you hear a 14-year-old saying how good a movie from the 1980s was, then yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is this all done I assume no one's going through these conversations and just this is AI stuff, I assume, or some kind of tech.
Yeah, that's AI stuff, and we trained it on millions of conversations. We currently protect kids in more than 9 million conversations every month. So the software just gets better and better and better.
So how are you? Where are you getting the education in terms of things to look for? Like you just mentioned about, the positive. Telling a kid that he's doing good at a game. I never even registered that as now I'm worried about all the times I complimented people and I'm playing. Hey, dude, good game. All of a sudden, red flags are going off. But where do you get that info from? Are there psychologists or people that study this that you're getting this info from?
So actually, our head of research, she worked with the FBI, the Interpol, and actually identifying online risks for kids. So
Wow.
she has been researching those things for years. So she's the one responsible for educating our AI people what are the things that we want to detect.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's fascinating. Thank you for all the work you do, man. I think it's really great what you're doing, and I wish you all the best. That's going to do it for this topic. Next week, we have not decided what we're going to talk about on the Gaming Outsider, so stay tuned to the socials. We will be keeping you guys updated with what we're going to be talking about next week. That's going to do it for this week's The Gaming Outsider. Ron, thank you so much for being our guest once again, man. It's great talking with you again.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
And where can our listeners follow you and your work? I know you said getkidas.com. You got Twitter and all that good stuff too, or?
All of the platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm all over the place. So yeah, definitely LinkedIn and Twitter are the my platforms. So if you want to follow me, I'm going to be there. And for KIDAS, the Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and just type in Get KIDAS, and you'll find our profile.
Sounds great. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. This episode was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website, as always, is stemagemusic.com, STEMAGE music.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Ron, before we let you go, sir, do you have any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of things outside of gaming. And so last week I watched the F1 movie. Definitely recommend it. Really liked it. Some people say it's cheesy. Some people say, yeah, I've watched like thousands of movies like that. But I actually liked it. I think it was really good. So definitely recommend it.
Awesome. I've been recommended to see that one. I've been told that you need to see that one in the theater and see it in IMAX. There's something. Are they putting cameras on the cars?
Yeah. I've been seeing it at the theater IMAX, and it was really good.
Fantastic. Jacob, what about you, sir? Anything you'd like to recommend?
No.
Okay. Well, I've also got movie recommendations. I'm a little late to the party. I got two. I'm a little late to the party for the first one. Yesterday, I finally went to see the new Mission Impossible movie, like The Final Reckoning. I thought it was awesome. You really have to kind of check your brain at the door, because the things that Ethan Hunt is able to do in that movie, I mean, it's called Mission Impossible for a reason. I get it, right? But it always skirted the line of believability, and this one kind of throws all believability out the window, but it is absolutely fun to watch. The other one is I saw Jurassic World Rebirth with Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and others, and I thought that was such a great summer movie. Again, the plot is dumb. The reasons that they are there are dumb, but this is the most video game Jurassic Park movie ever. They literally have 3 things that they have to go to this island to collect, and they do it in a video game fashion. It's great, but the action in this movie is outstanding. It's some very exciting on the edge of your seat stuff, and I highly recommend Jurassic World Rebirth. So, all right. Well, thank you so much one more time, Ron. Really appreciate you coming out. Until next week, I am Scott Clark with Jacob Gunderson, and we are The Gaming Outsider. Remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.